All right. Good evening, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson of the the Ring of Fire show. Hey, listen, tonight's subject is it's a hard one to talk about, and everybody's been through it, but it's the top reasons that you feel that you're getting fired. So I think some have been there before, but be right back after this. Hey, good evening, everyone. Dave Wilson. Hey, hi, Anne Marie. She's always my first cousin right on the show here. It's always good to see you. Hey, tonight's subjects, I wanted to do this, and it's always a hard subject. When you feel that you're going to be fired, what are some good signs that you've been with a company for 5, 10 years, and you might have that feeling, that gut feeling that you're going to be let go, and it, it consumes you. It consumes every part of you, your family life, your weekends, everything. You want to run out of work. How you doing, Aya? Good to see you again. But it really takes its toll on even your family. Maybe sometimes you might be overthinking things. You don't know, but it really can drive you crazy because, maybe your boss is out to get you. That's the number one, right? But this is where we talk about leadership, and if things are done right. I mean, the majority of the time, you should get a verbal warning. The majority, right? This, in my opinion, written warning, final warning, and then let go. I don't like the word fire or anything like that. We'll expect some discussion on the slap venting leading as fire as well. How you doing, Heather? It's nice to see you. And we have Gabrielle. Nice to see you. So you got that feeling, and when you lose your job, that's got to be it's one of the worst things you can imagine. Everybody knows if you've had it happen to you all, it's a shock to your system, or maybe it's coming, like we said. It's miserable. You don't know what to do the day after or when you leave, because the majority of the time, your coworkers, they already know. They know. There's some reasons, like here, a bad review. You've been with a company, again, 5 to 10 years, and out of nowhere, you get a new management comes in and you get a bad performance review. You've always, for 5, 10 years, signed it, got your raise, right? All of a sudden, you get one bad. You're like, whoa. That could be a warning sign, or it could be a sign that, hey, maybe you're slacking a little bit. Maybe you need to pick it up. There's both sides. So you got to think of it that way. The next one is you're taken out of the loop. I mean, if you're in a team environment, especially in an office environment, and you feel, I've been there, I've done it, I've seen it. You see that person sitting there and something's wrong, right? That manager comes in and that tension just builds up in that room. You feel it, you can slice it with a knife, man. You're like, oh boy. You can see it on someone's face sitting to your left of you or sitting to the right. Something's coming. It's a gut feeling, like I said. Something like that, though, I've always said numerous times, that's where human resources comes in. And I'm going to say this respectively towards management. If you're a manager and you have not given that employee chances, if you have not given them a warning, a verbal warning, something, unless it was something major. Listen, if it's something, safety, theft, something really bad, you're going to get terminated. That's just a fact. And there's no ways around that because you've done something wrong and you know it. So it's not a surprise. But if you're a manager, you need to go ahead, especially days like this. You can't continue just to let somebody go and be surprised if they've been, I'm going to give you a scenario again, 5 to 10 years. Something happened. They call this change management sometimes. I hate that word, change management. If you hear that, I'm sorry. That to me is just people are going to leave. Somebody new's coming in. You all know it. Everybody knows it. What's happening? This person's leaving. This one's on his way out. Rumors do not help. How many of everybody has said this? Hey, don't tell them, but they're going to let this person go. Or, hey, they're out to get. The boss said this, right? It gets around that whole entire office. The best thing to do is to stop that. Is to say, you know what? If you're in an office environment, I would sit there and just say, you know what? I don't want to hear it. I'm not getting involved with this. Listen, if you want to say something in front of me with the person, I'm open to it. That'll put a stop to it right there. But the ones that do the rumors, they're the ones that are excited for that person to get let go. And it's not fair. It's fair as if you've been through all the steps and you know that the person has been put on a PIP. I've talked about it before. They're great. I was on one once. And at first I thought that was a bad thing, but it was my boss protecting me. She protected me by putting me on a PIP, gave me a whole direction. I followed it to a T, and I was bounced right back out of it. That is a good example of a leader that done that. At first, again, I was a little like, whoa. I had years at the company, and I was like, wow, she saved me by putting me on that because it was the only way around it. There's no other way around it that you're either going to be let go all of a sudden, right? So another one is if they start putting work on you a lot. And other people don't, because people see this. So if you're a boss out there, you're a toxic boss. You are one that just don't care about employees. You just want to take all the credit. You want to have everything in you, and you don't want that person because you just moved in to a new company and you're going to be like, hey, I'm going to change things. Let's get rid of that person. I don't like the way she looks, or this one, I don't like the way he smiles. He comes in late all the time. You're just going to change the whole dynamics. And that's what some of the problem is right there, is because if a new boss is coming in, right, they need to be trained by their bosses of what's your goal. You cannot walk into a place and just change the whole dynamics like that, because you're going to get the good people to leave and the ones that are the lower performers will stay. That's a fact. There's nothing else that's going to happen there. One of my bosses said, and it really was important to me, that if you go back to a company, if you were let go or you resigned, right? If you went back 2 years later, it's the same people that are there, and all the other high performers left. That's the majority of the time, in my opinion. I've seen it, but it's true. In 2 years, you're going to go back. You don't even see them. What happened to that person? Oh, she was really good. They're gone. They moved on to another company, and they're going to prove themselves from there. Your relationship with your boss has deteriorated. Let's just face it. If you walk in the morning, they don't say hello to you. He or she, they kind of avoid you. It's so predictable that's just being chicken. I'm sorry. As a manager, that means you are afraid to confront an issue. You'll go around telling everybody else something, but you won't hold yourself accountable for it. That's on one part. The other part is maybe the person does need to be adjusted. Maybe that person's coming in late all the time. Maybe that person does low performance, right? They're the one, that's where you need to address. Just if you don't like someone, that's your problem. That's something you have to deal with, because if you're going to try to change someone, you can't. You can't walk in and change, because it's going to be the same thing. Listen, I've been there. That's why I left. I've been at a company that I didn't want to be at with no longer. There was no way. Hey, Kara, there she is. So true. But I've been there, and I'm not afraid to say it, because if I look in hindsight, I did nothing wrong. Nothing. Now, I resigned. Okay. I resigned. There was no way all those years that I was going out being terminated. I'm just saying it because if you really feel strong, that it's not your fault, if you've had management and HR help you all the way through, right? Then think about it. It's not your fault. It's time to leave. you need to leave. It's only going to eat your stomach up, stress your family out. You're going to be okay. I mean, there's things out there. You're going to find another job, just like everybody does. Your life is going to move on, and that person might be gone eventually. But don't let things get out of control before you let go, because sometimes you might overthink things. Sometimes the boss is just I don't even want to say it. And sometimes they're really good, and maybe they're stressed out, so you could help them. But if you were just to go in and you could have a closed door, again, I've talked about it numerous times, closed door, and just say, listen, be honest with me. What's going on? I don't feel this way. Documentate every single thing imaginable. Phone calls, emails, right? Get yourself one of these. Get yourself one of them. You see that color? That's where you want to put it. But you also, as an employer, you need to do the same thing. You need to cover your tracks as an employer, because it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. But as an employee also, you want to document, because if you're in meetings, right, you're in that meeting and you just have a feeling you're going to be let go. But let me tell you, this file can save you. It can save you, because if you've written everything down and that person in that meeting is saying something that's not true, you have that information right in front of you. And that's what you got to do on both sides. Because if the management isn't writing it up, if that manager is not following, that leader is not following everything that they should for a process, you're going to go through people left and right, and you deserve it. If you have a toxic boss in there, get rid of them. If you have somebody that leaves him, 3 to 4 people, get rid of them. Replace him, have HR go to him, get rid of him. He'll go somewhere else and he'll make somebody else miserable. But my point there is if you've done everything that you can, and even as an employer, everything that you did, you both balance it out. You might need to go because you just, you didn't listen to your bosses. You didn't listen to when they said this. You can put yourself back, but it doesn't always make a good thing to do that. This one here, you're a vital team member and suddenly you find yourself out of meaningful conversations. That I see that. I've been through that. Input crucial team decisions. Some people think it's a sign of being terminated. There goes that thinking all the time. Oh, I'm not going to get terminated. But the gut feeling, and if you've been in management or on a good team, you know what that feeling is. Can you get fired without notice? Yes. Listen, even in Pennsylvania here, it's at will. They don't need to give you a reason. But the majority of the companies, they do. So if you're going to have a reason, if they did that nowadays, it wouldn't work as much. It maybe happened out in the 80s and the 90s. You could do that, but the majority of them don't do that in companies here. Heather, as an employer, I never paid an unemployment claim, but as long as an employee, I got let go once and did get unemployment. Document everything. And that, Heather, thank you for being honest with that. So it's just like when she said that unemployment claims. So as a manager, even in a branch and staffing, you would have to go, and everybody's been there, to unemployment hearings. So if you had it documented that employee, now this could be for anything, if they were let go for lateness, job performance, and you're going to be in that appeals, you're sitting there, and that employee's sitting over there. They're angry. They are more motivated, and they are prepared. But you need to be prepared also. If you, as a company, if you're right and you felt, I've won unemployment claims, I've won them because that person, listen, the majority of the time, sometimes they tend towards the candidate. Listen, sometimes you might not even fight it. Sometimes you might not even go to a hearing because you're going to lose. I mean, it was your fault. If you don't have documentation and you can't win it, you might as well just let it go. There's no reason. There's sometimes, or it wasn't just worth going, not even to lose 4 hours of work to go sit there and both of you feel uncomfortable, pay the unemployment. That's just what you pay for. And that's what a company does also. So can you get fired without notice? Yes, but that's kind of rare. The boss avoids you. That's another sign people say. Hey, they go right around you in the morning. If they walk in the office and they just say hello to everybody, and you kind of know, you feel it. All right. But you could be giving that feeling back to the manager also. So if it's your fault, If you're at fault, kind of, and you know it, don't put fuel on the fire, because you might not be getting terminated. These are just things that signs, but it also doesn't mean that you are. Don't overthink of it, but sometimes, again, the gut. Micromanage. Listen, micromanage, everybody knows what that is. That is the most horrible thing that an employee can go through. And any leader out there, any manager that enjoys that, they're not going to be successful nowadays. People leave. So if you are a micromanager, you need to sit back and start thinking, how would you like to be treated like that? Because it might be a sign that you're going to let that person go. But if you're micromanaging them all the time, that's horrible. I've heard manage them out. If I ever heard those words again, right, I would leave a company. Go ahead and manage them out. So you got a person for 10 years, never been written up, manage them out. If you've never heard it, that is the truth. Will that happen? When I always try to base some of the experience that I have for so many years in staffing, and everybody that's been watching the show, if anybody said that to me again, to manage that person out, I'm gone. That's the culture that you want to say. So that person's been there for 5-10 years. Again, you want to manage them out. You're newer, they're not. Again, it goes both ways though. So just think of it that way. When you do go into the meeting, first of all, I'm sorry. If you want to have a discussion with your boss, they're saying here to set up times. What type of time of day is it to do this? I don't know the right answer to that. I've had people come up in the morning and want to have a quick word with you and then close the door. Maybe end of the day, have it. You've been feeling anxiety all day. You might not want to do that there because you built up all day. But any good leader, any good manager will sit and talk, whether you like that employee or not. As a leader, you cannot, and a manager, you cannot be biased. You can't just say, well, I like this person, I don't like that one, I like her, I don't like this one. That is not a good leader, and they should be let go, or to human resources. Again, don't forget, I've said it numerous times, human resources is so not utilized as much as it should be, because human resource directors all of a sudden are in staffing world. You know, when you call sales, you got to call, hey, can I talk to the HR director? For what? They're human resource departments. They should not be in staffing. They need to be doing human resources jobs. Seriously. They didn't go to college, I bet, to say, I want to be a recruiter. They're overworked, underpaid. I'm sorry, I always stick up for HR directors. But you need, because we talked about it before, if you feel like you're getting fired, there's no reason why you can't go into that office if you're 100% correct. If you're not, you're going to know it. You're going to back off. And that's what sometimes happens. You're going to back off because you know you're wrong and the company's right. So you got to balance that scale. You know, I always say, write a scale, right? Positive, negative, and write down all the positive things and write down all the negative. And when it goes like this or that, kind of, that's the way I judge things. Well, they've done this, they've done this, they've done this, I've done this. You kind of know. Be clear when you're called into a meeting. You know, that is one of the most hardest things I think anybody can do. If you're not nervous before you have to let somebody go, if you're not thinking about it the night before, that's normal. But if you enjoy it, if you just say, oh, I don't care, I fired everybody, you know, I've come in and, oh, they hired me because, I think that was the last one he said, oh, they hired me because I come in and I make changes and I let people go and I put them on PIPs and I let them leave on themselves. Again, that kind of culture, nope, no more. No more. And that's on a personal note, and I think that's on anybody's if you're sitting there. Sometimes enough is enough. If you're in that position, you need to take control. So does the employer. I'm always going on both sides here. It's not always the employer. It's the candidate also. So again, you've done everything 100% and you feel that it's not fair, HR. Let's see. Some of these things, I'll tell you, we've talked about performance reviews, if that goes. Lack of experience, and there's always a chance to fix it. If you're on top of somebody that you haven't proven or provided the tools to do the job, you're just as wrong. If an employee that you're trying to write up, right, and you haven't provided the tools for that, think about it. Again, you might have learned it as a candidate, but you're like, I don't want to do that. It's not part of my job. If they've added it to your job and everybody else is doing it, it's only fair. You have to give. You can't just hold the employer. Now, if it's something major that they've added to you, something that you've never done, again, they need to provide the tools. Your management team, leadership, and HR with involved have to be involved with it to settle everything, to make you feel good, to make the employer feel good, and your family. That's the most important thing I want to try to stress here is everybody's been through a bad job before, and it can really cause problems at home. So the other things here, let's see. Oh, they say about sometimes they ask you to go to meetings and fly out or do an overnight or a week trip or something like that, right? And some people say, well, if I say no, then I'm going to get let go. You know what? Sometimes it's not always that. They might actually be sending you for a good reason and giving you a great opportunity. So sometimes you got to take one for the team. I kind of say it like that. Do you want to go? No, it's the weekend. But you know what? If it's training, take it. But if you feel they're doing it to get rid of you, see what I'm saying? It's a no-win for you, and it's a no-win for the employer, because you're both like, if that person was like, what's he or she talking about? They're going for training. I'm not out to get them. That's the overthinker. So again, keep it open. But that's one of the good things here. Here is I kind of like this one. All right, here we go. When you first assume the role, well, we just talked about marching orders. You're being set up to fail. They're putting a lot of projects on you. Now what they're saying here, I love that picture. not in a mean way, but if they put stuff on you that you know, this is what they're talking about here, that's a sign there that you could be being let go. It's just a fact. And again, your stomach feels it, and they keep warning you about it. Here, formal warnings are a good thing. You may have received, this is the best, and I've said it again, verbal warning, right? How to improve. Now you're going to a written warning. This is where, as a leader and a manager, you need to really, if you're going to write somebody up for something, you need to know what you're talking about. Because as a candidate, you need to question it, or it's just say to them, give me an example. If you're telling somebody to do something and you don't know how to do the job, it goes both ways. Same thing for the candidate. Provide the tools to do it. So in a written warning and in a final warning should be a PIP, think about it. You've been warned. And if you are at fault, you know it. If you're trying to get fired, that's not always a good thing either. Or you might not want to resign, and it goes both ways again. It's a no-win situation for both the company and yourself. And I'm telling you, it'll improve the culture. It'll improve the workforce. Your retention will stay because you show a good sign. Okay, hey, John, yeah, you are, you're in your written warning. I told you this. What do I need to do to help you? Because I've seen some companies, listen, the temporary to perm, I've had some great companies that they want you to succeed. So they have like a 12-week, 12 weeks set up, 90 days. But every 2 weeks we would meet and go over the temporary staff, where their weaknesses and where their strengths. And they said the best thing that I really enjoyed at that company when I was on site was, we're not out to get the person. They need to hire them on and save money because they want you to succeed, because they gave, in all seriousness, they gave the best training that you could ever have asked for. And if you couldn't do it, that team really, really worked for you. And if it didn't work out, sometimes it doesn't work out. Maybe the job's not meant for you. But a good employer will work with their employee through that whole thing. They're going to sit there and they're going to be like, you know what, John, we've given you the tools. We've asked you what you needed from us, but maybe this job isn't for you. Or you might have another position that the person could learn. If it's really not their fault, you can't hold somebody kind of, say if somebody's in picking or in logistics and they're not at high numbers. They're not high, but they come to work every day. They work hard, right? You need to really look at that employees, because I know numbers, you have to go by numbers. But when you got some individuals that call off all the time, they might give you high numbers, but I've been there and done this. So, I mean, I would keep that person, because if you really, really want to show somebody, teach them what to do, and you'll see them improve all the way up. Then you can sit back and say, wow, I did that. I worked for that employee to really help them and making them grow. Because listen, if I've done something wrong, and I have done, I've been written up, I've been told to be quiet, I've been told all different things, but that comes with experience. It comes with, now I look at it and say, wow, that was a lessons learned in management and being a leader that you need to know now to show the younger generation, if you want to say the up and coming ones, to say, hey, I've been there, done it. Listen, this works a lot better. Do this. Dave, you're not listening. It's coming in here, but it's not coming out right. So there's some of the things. I got two more. The next one is, this is the favorite one I talked about, is your friends in the office and everything. Everybody's just ignoring you. You come in there, you feel it, you're sitting at your desk, and people see that. People feel it. They know that you're being let go probably a week prior to that. Some of the times, I'm telling you, because you know people don't keep their mouth shut. If you don't want the office people to know you're letting John or Cindy go, right? Don't open your mouth. Don't go to the branch, well, maybe the manager, yeah, but even then, people know and they feel it. They tell everybody, and it gets right back to that employee. So that's not good on the management team or the company, because they're the ones that should be written up right there for doing that, because that's not fair. It's not fair for the employee to be treated like that, knowing that they know. And then when you leave, you find out they did know, because they'll say, oh, I knew that. I'm sorry. These are the kind of things that can really save time and save money and really help companies and employees. So really be careful there. This last one here, I mean, if they're guessing, looking at your expense reports, if they start digging into that, listen, if you know you haven't done anything wrong, if you've been purchasing what you've always purchased. I had a boss that he would get irritated that they wanted me to order from this catalog for the company, which toilet paper and paper towels and all this were double or triple the price. But you go down to Dollar General on your lunch and you buy things to save money for your P&L, and they're telling you, don't worry about that stuff. Come on. You're trying to do the company good, but if they start micromanaging you this, and I had it, and I always like to say I have, but this show is dear to me because it's been there, done it, and it's not fair for anybody to feel bad at work, feel unappreciated, feel like you haven't given them a chance. Think of their family. When you let somebody go, think of their family. How would you like, and how do you think that employee is going to act? If you, in your mind, if you're sitting there and you're going to terminate an employee that you don't feel it's right because your boss told you to, that's on you. This is where you, as a manager, can go back to your manager and say, wait a minute here, and get your HR involved. Nothing's going to happen to you. And you need to say, listen, why are we letting this person go? This person has done this. There's something, a toxic boss, something there that's not jiving. Something is just happening. And that is why I wanted to end tonight is, if everything that I said here, if anything pertains to you like that, don't overthink it. Don't think that you're always going to be let go. There could be things that you're doing. So address your manager, address HR if you feel. Don't let it get to the point of this. Don't let it get to the point of having to print out your emails, right? Mark down conversations. You're not, both of these aren't winning. You're not, especially like I said, if you have not done anything wrong and that person, that toxic boss, bring it up. You deserve it. And also, if you are doing something wrong, don't hold it against them. A lot of companies will say, or people, is it better to be fired or is it better to resign? Better to be fired or resigned? How is my resume going to look? Because Oof, are you going to say I was fired? That's a hard one. There's all different ways you can go that route. There's ways you can take the high road, right? I resigned. I would never, I'd never have been fired, and I never want to have that done to me. Never, because I know what it feels like. So I resigned. It's okay. You go through that little phase, right? It's okay. Everything worked out fine. They got what they want. I got what I want. And you got to think that sometimes the same thing. But some people, you're better. Listen, if you feel you're right, let them fire you. Let them fire you, right? And then go to that unemployment hearing and win it and collect unemployment. You deserve it. You're paid for it. If that company or manager that just tried to really dig you in, you deserve to be able to collect unemployment. So you might as well be fired. If you know, again, this is it. If you've done everything right, your next job, you're sitting there saying, oh, wow, why'd you leave after 10 years? Are you going to say, well, I did. Boss that was an ass. Oh, sorry. I had a boss, or, this. Or now, if you did theft, if you did something bad, hey, that's on you. That's something you have to live with. Majority of the time, they'll call for employment verification. Some people give it recommendations. If I know an employee that's really well, I give a recommendation. I mean, it's only fair, but some companies will just give them, yes, they were employed from here to here, and you're going to have to guess. And the majority of the times that the company, they know. When they read that, something 15 years, and they're gone, or what happened here? Something did. So on that note, I got to get going. I appreciate everybody. It's a long show, very dear to me, about being let go. It's not a good feeling for people. And main thing, again, last thing, go to your HR department before it escalates on both of these. Management goes to HR too. So does a candidate. So this part. There we go. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks.